The termination letter felt like ice in Diana Chen's hands. 3 years. 3 years of late nights and skipped lunches, and it ended with budget cuts and a cardboard box. "I'm so sorry, Diana," Jessica whispered from the next desk. "You're the hardest worker here." Diana forced her lips into something resembling a smile. Things happen for a reason, right? But on the subway to Queens, reality crashed down. Rent due in 2 weeks. Her mother's medical bills spreading across the kitchen table like accusation. $247 in savings. At 24, her life was collapsing. Her phone lit up. "How was work today, sweetheart?" Diana couldn't type the truth. Her mother, Alina, had worked double shifts as a nurse to put her through college. She deserved better than this failure of a daughter. That evening, scrolling through her phone to numb the panic, Diana's heart stopped. Sebastian Torres. Her childhood friend. Her secret crush since they were kids, sharing lunch money in Queens. There he stood in a tailored tuxedo arm wrapped around Victoria Sterling, a blonde goddess dripping with diamonds and privilege. The engagement ring caught the light like a small sun. "Thrilled to announce my engagement to the love of my life." Diana stared at the photo until her vision blurred. She remembered their last meeting 6 months ago, talking for hours over coffee about dreams and startups and futures that felt possible. He'd seemed so real then. So much like the boy who used to walk her home. Now he belonged to penthouses and charity galas. To women like Victoria. To a world that would never want someone like her. The next morning her phone rang. Unknown number. "Miss Chen? This is Margaret Preston from Preston and Associates." Diana sat up straight. "Preston and Associates. The most prestigious marketing firm in Manhattan. We received your resume. We're very impressed. We have an immediate opening for senior marketing coordinator. $95,000 annually." Diana nearly dropped the phone. Triple her old salary. Enough to save everything. "I'm very interested." "Wonderful." However, Margaret's voice cooled slightly. "This role requires significant life experience. Our clients are high-profile individuals who expect sophisticated professionals. Can you be here tomorrow at 2? After the call ended, Diana sat frozen. Sophisticated professionals. Life experience. She was a 24-year-old virgin who'd never been anywhere, done anything, belonged anywhere. How could she possibly convince them she fit into their world? Then she thought of Sebastian. Sebastian, who knew both worlds. Sebastian, who she trusted more than anyone. That evening, Diana stood outside his Tribeca building, heart hammering against her ribs. The doorman looked her up and down with barely concealed contempt. "I'm here to see Sebastian Torres." Minutes later, the elevator doors opened to reveal him. Dark hair, perfectly styled. White button-down that cost more than her rent. But his eyes, those warm brown eyes, still held traces of the boy she'd known. Diana's face lit up. "This is unexpected." Come in his apartment, stole her breath. Floor-to-ceiling windows. City lights spreading like fallen stars. Everything beautiful and expensive and impossibly far from her reach. They settled on his leather sofa with wine that tasted like liquid gold. "So what brings you here?" Sebastian asked. Diana took a breath, then another. "I lost my job yesterday." Concern flashed across his face. "Diana, I'm so sorry. I can help. Money, connections, whatever you need." "It's not about money." She met his eyes. "I have an interview tomorrow. An incredible position. But they want someone with life experience. Someone sophisticated. You are sophisticated. You're intelligent, talented, hardworking. I'm a 24-year-old virgin who's never been anywhere or done anything." The words hung in the air between them. Sebastian set down his wine glass carefully. "Diana, what exactly are you asking me?" She forced herself to hold his gaze. "I'm asking you to help me become the kind of woman who could get that job. Someone with experience. Someone who knows what it's like to be with a man." He stood abruptly, hands running through his hair. "Do you hear what you're saying? You want me to sleep with you so you can get a job?" "Not just any man," her voice cracked. "You, the person I trust most in the world." "Diana, you don't understand what you're asking." "I understand perfectly. I need this job, Sebastian. Everything depends on it. And I trust you to make it mean something. Sebastian turned to the window, jaw clenched. What about Victoria? What about my life? You're marrying someone who fits in your world. I'm just asking for one night to help me find my place in mine. When he looked at her again, something burned in his eyes. Something dangerous and desperate. You have no idea how long I've wanted you, he said softly. Diana's breath caught. What? Since we were teenagers? Since the day you wore that blue dress to your high school graduation, and I realized you weren't just my friend anymore. You were the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. The world tilted. But you never said anything, because I knew I was being pushed into this life. These expectations? My father made it clear I needed to marry someone from the right family. Someone who could help the business. I couldn't ask you to be part of that. Diana stood, closing the distance between them. What if I don't want to be protected? What if I want to choose for myself? Sebastian's control shattered. He pulled her against him, his lips finding hers in a kiss that tasted like years of wanting and waiting. Diana melted into him, breathing in cologne and something uniquely him. Are you sure about this? He whispered against her mouth. I've never been more sure of anything. He lifted her in his arms, carrying her toward the bedroom. I want you to know, he said, setting her down gently. Whatever happens after tonight, this isn't just about helping you with a job. This is about us. About how I feel about you. Diana nodded, unable to speak. When Sebastian's trembling fingers began unbuttoning her blouse, she realized he was as nervous as she was. You're so beautiful, he whispered. I've dreamed about this for so long. Nothing had prepared her for this. For Sebastian's hands on her skin, his lips trailing fire. The way he touched her like she was something precious and rare. When he finally made her his, Diana understood she was crossing more than just a physical threshold. With every movement, every whispered word, every kiss, Sebastian was claiming something deeper than her body. Afterward, they lay tangled in expensive sheets, her head on his chest as he stroked her hair. What happens now? She asked softly. His hands stilled. I don't know, but I know I can't pretend this didn't happen. I can't pretend I don't love you. Diana lifted her head. You love me? I've loved you since we were kids, Diana. Tonight just made it impossible to deny anymore. As dawn broke over the city, Diana knew she was no longer the same woman who had knocked on his door. But she had no idea what she'd just set in motion. Diana walked into Preston and Associates at 1:55 p.m. Wearing her best dress and the memory of Sebastian's hands on her skin, the office was all glass and steel, the kind of place where even the air felt expensive. Margaret Preston stood waiting, silver hair pulled back, eyes sharp as surgical tools. Miss Chen. Right on time. Her handshake was firm, assessing. Follow me. The conference room overlooked Manhattan, the city spread below like a kingdom. 3 other executives sat waiting, their faces professionally blank. Tell us about yourself, Margaret said. Diana took a breath. She thought of Sebastian's apartment. The wine. The way he'd looked at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. I've spent 3 years learning that marketing isn't about selling products. It's about understanding desire. What people want. What they're afraid to admit they want. One executive leaned forward. And you understand that? At your age? I understand that everyone wears a mask, Diana said. The question is whether you can see what's underneath. Margaret's lips curved slightly. Interesting. We represent some very demanding clients. People who expect discretion, sophistication. Can you handle that pressure? I've learned recently that pressure either breaks you or transforms you. I prefer transformation. The interview lasted an hour. Diana felt something shift inside her with every answer, every measured response. She was no longer the girl from Queens. She was someone new, someone forged in a single night. We'll be in touch by end of day, Margaret said. Diana rode the elevator down, her reflection in the polished steel showing someone she barely recognized. Her phone buzzed. Sebastian, how did it go? I think I did well. Thank you for everything. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Can I see you tonight? Diana stared at the message. She should say no. Should let last night remain a beautiful, desperate memory. But her fingers moved on their own. Yes, she went home first. Her mother was at the kitchen table, surrounded by medical bills. "How was your day, sweetheart?" Diana kissed her cheek. "Good, Mama. Really good. I have a lead on a new job. That's wonderful." Lena squeezed her hand. "I knew something good would come." Guilt twisted in Diana's stomach. If her mother knew how that good thing came, what would she think? At 7, Diana stood outside Sebastian's building again. This time the doorman nodded her through without question. Sebastian opened the door before she could knock. He looked exhausted, shadows under his eyes, shirt wrinkled. "You came," he said. "I said I would." Inside, he poured wine with shaking hands. "Diana, we need to talk about last night, I know." She sat on the sofa where everything had begun. "It was a mistake. You're engaged. I needed help. We can both move on." "That's not what I was going to say." Diana looked up. Sebastian was staring at her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. "I can't marry Victoria," he said. The room went still. "Sebastian, don't be ridiculous. Last night was about helping me. It doesn't change your life. It changes everything." He knelt in front of her, taking her hands. "I've been lying to myself for years, telling myself I could be happy with someone I don't love. But after last night, after finally having you, I can't go back to that lie." Diana's heart hammered. "Your father will destroy you. Your business? Everything you've built? Then let him." Sebastian's grip tightened. "I don't care anymore. I only care about you." "Sebastian, stop. You're not thinking clearly. This is just guilt, or nostalgia, or it's love." His voice broke. "I love you, Diana. I've always loved you, and I know you love me too." Diana pulled her hands away, standing. "Even if that's true, it doesn't matter. We're from different worlds now. You're a billionaire. I'm a girl who can barely pay rent. Money doesn't matter. Money always matters." Diana's voice rose. "Easy for you to say when you have it. You want to throw away your entire life for one night? For nostalgia? For a woman who used you to get a job?" Sebastian stood, face pale. "Is that what you think last night was?" "I don't know what it was." Diana grabbed her bag. "But I know I can't be the reason you destroy your future." "Diana, wait." Her phone rang. She almost ignored it, but the caller ID showed Preston and Associates. "Hello, Miss Chen." "Margaret Preston. I'm pleased to offer you the position. Can you start Monday?" Diana's knees went weak. Yes, absolutely. Thank you." "Excellent. We'll send the paperwork over tonight." Diana hung up, staring at the phone in disbelief. "You got it," Sebastian said softly. "The job? I got it." She looked at him, at this man who'd given her everything and wanted to give more. "So thank you for everything. But we both need to go back to our real lives now. Diana, please, don't do this." She walked to the door, hand on the handle. "Marry Victoria. Build your empire. Be happy. And let me figure out who I am in this new world you helped me enter. I can't just let you go." Diana turned back, tears burning behind her eyes. "You don't have a choice. Neither of us do." She left before he could stop her, before she could change her mind, before the tears could fall. On the elevator down, her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Congratulations on the new job, Miss Chen. We should meet. There are things about your new employer you should know. Things about Sebastian Torres, too. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Central Park, Bethesda Fountain. Come alone if you want the truth." Diana's hand shook. Who was this? What truth? The elevator doors opened to the lobby, and Diana stepped out into a world that suddenly felt much more dangerous than before. Diana stood by Bethesda Fountain at exactly 10 a.m., morning sun glinting off the water. Her new job started Monday. She should have been celebrating. Instead, dread coiled in her stomach. A woman approached. Blonde, elegant, unmistakable, Victoria Sterling, Miss Chen. Victoria's smile was razor-sharp. "Thank you for coming." Diana's mouth went dry. "You sent that text?" I did. Shall we walk? Victoria gestured to the path. She moved like royalty, effortless and commanding. I imagine you're wondering why I wanted to meet. I'm wondering how you know who I am. Sebastian's been in love with you since he was 15. Victoria's voice was calm, almost amused. He talks about you in his sleep sometimes. Diana this, Diana that. Quite tedious, really. Diana stopped walking. If you know that, why are you marrying him? Victoria turned, and for the first time, Diana saw something crack in her perfect facade. Sadness, maybe even loneliness. Because I love him, Victoria said simply. And because our marriage isn't about love, it's about survival. His company is drowning in debt, Miss Chen. His father made catastrophic investments before he died. Sebastian is 6 months from bankruptcy. The world tilted. That's impossible. He lives in a penthouse. He drives a all-leveraged, all borrowed against future earnings that won't exist. Victoria's eyes were hard now. My family's real estate holdings can save him. That's why we're getting married. Business, pure and simple. Diana's mind raced. He never said anything, because he's proud. Because he doesn't want you to see him as anything less than the golden boy who made it out of Queens. Victoria stepped closer. But here's what you need to understand. If Sebastian breaks our engagement, my father pulls his support. Sebastian loses everything. The company. The apartment. His employees lose their jobs. 200 people on the street? Why are you telling me this? Because you're at Preston and Associates now, and you need to know who you're really working for. Diana frowned. Margaret Preston hired me because I'm good at my job. Victoria laughed, the sound bitter. Margaret Preston is my godmother. She hired you because I asked her to. The ground dropped out from under Diana's feet. What? I've been watching you for months. Ever since Sebastian came back from that coffee shop meeting talking about his brilliant friend Diana, I knew then he'd never really be mine. Victoria's voice softened. So I decided to give you what you wanted. A career, a future. A way to be the sophisticated woman you dreamed of becoming. Diana felt sick. The job isn't real. Oh, it's real. You'll work there. You'll be good at it. Margaret doesn't hire incompetence, even as a favor. Victoria pulled out her phone, showing Diana a photo. But you need to understand the cost. The photo showed Sebastian, not in his penthouse, but in a modest office, surrounded by worried-looking people. His employees. Is going to call off the wedding, Victoria said. Any day now. Because of you. Because of one night that made him think he could have love instead of responsibility. She put the phone away. So I'm giving you a choice, Miss Chen. Take the job. Build your career. Let Sebastian marry me and save his company. Or tell him the truth about our little arrangement and watch everything he's built burn to the ground. Diana couldn't breathe. You're manipulating both of us. I'm saving the man I love from destroying himself. Victoria's eyes glittered with unshed tears. Even if he'll never love me back, even if every day of our marriage will be a lie, I'll do it. Because that's what love is sometimes. Sacrifice. That's not love. That's a cage. Maybe. Victoria turned to leave, then paused. But at least it's a cage where he survives, where his dreams survive. Can you say the same about what you're offering him? Diana stood frozen as Victoria walked away, her perfect posture never wavering. Her phone buzzed. Sebastian, I told Victoria, it's over. I'm coming to see you. We need to talk about our future. Diana stared at the message, Victoria's words echoing in her mind. 200 people losing their jobs. Sebastian losing everything he'd worked for. All because of one desperate night. She typed fast, fingers shaking. Don't. I don't want to see you again. 3 dots appeared immediately. Diana, what's wrong? What happened? Nothing happened. I got what I needed. We both should move on. You don't mean that. Diana's vision blurred. I used you, Sebastian. For a job and some experience. It was a transaction. Nothing more. Please don't contact me again. She blocked his number before he could respond. Before she could take it back, then she sank onto a bench and let the tears come, silent and devastating. Her phone rang. Margaret Preston, Miss Chen. I wanted to go over some details before Monday. Can you come to the office this afternoon? Diana wiped her eyes. Of course. Excellent. And Miss Chen? Welcome to the team. I think you're going to do very well here. Diana hung up and stared at the fountain, at the angel statue rising above the water. She'd gotten everything she wanted. The job, the sophistication, the life experience, and it had cost her the only thing that mattered. That evening, Diana stood in her tiny queen's apartment, staring at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. She looked different, older, harder. Her mother knocked softly. Sweetheart, there's someone here to see you. Diana opened the door to find Victoria Sterling standing in their cramped living room, completely out of place among the worn furniture and faded wallpaper. Miss Chen, one more thing. Victoria's voice was cold. Sebastian tried to come see you. I stopped him. Told him you were with someone else? A colleague from your new job? He believed me. Diana's chest tightened. Why would you do that? Because now he'll hate you. And hate is so much easier to move past than love. Victoria smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. You're welcome. For the job. For setting him free. For making the hard choice he couldn't make himself. Get out. Gladly. Victoria walked to the door, then turned back. Oh, and Miss Chen. If you ever try to contact him again, I'll make sure Preston and Associates discovers some unfortunate discrepancies in your background check. You'll never work in marketing again. Understood? Diana said nothing. Victoria left. And Diana stood in the silence of her mother's apartment, surrounded by the ruins of what could have been. Her phone buzzed. A message from a blocked number that could only be Sebastian. I know you didn't mean what you said. I know Victoria did something. But I'm respecting your choice. I'm marrying her. I'm saving my company. And I'm letting you go. I hope your new life is everything you dreamed of. Goodbye, Diana. Diana deleted the message. Then she walked to her room, closed the door, and screamed into her pillow until her throat was raw. Monday morning, she would walk into Preston and Associates as the sophisticated professional she'd always wanted to be, but she would do it alone. And she would do it with the knowledge that she'd sacrificed. The one person who'd ever truly loved her, for a job built on lies, for a future that already felt like ash. 3 months passed like a lifetime. Diana sat in her corner office at Preston and Associates. 27th floor, city lights spreading below like broken promises. She was good at her job. Exceptional, even. Margaret had said so just yesterday. You have instincts most people spend a decade developing, her boss had told her. Whatever life experience you had before coming here, it shows. If only Margaret knew. Diana's phone buzzed. A news alert. Torres Tech announces merger with Sterling Real Estate Holdings. Wedding of the year set for Saturday. Diana stared at Sebastian's photo. He looked tired, older. The smile for the cameras didn't reach his eyes. She'd kept her promise. Stayed away. Built her career on the foundation of lies Victoria had constructed. Every success felt hollow. Every promotion tasted like ash. Miss Chen? Her assistant poked her head in. There's someone here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's urgent. Who is it? Jessica Martinez. Says she worked with you at Morrison Marketing. Diana's chest tightened. Her old desk neighbor. The woman who'd whispered sympathy when Diana was fired. Jessica walked in, and Diana barely recognized her. Her face was gaunt, eyes shadowed with exhaustion. Jessica. What happened? I need to tell you something. About why you were really fired. Jessica's hands shook as she sat down. I should have told you months ago, but I was scared. But now, seeing what it cost you, I can't stay silent anymore. Diana leaned forward. What are you talking about? You weren't fired because of budget cuts. Jessica pulled out her phone, showing Diana an email chain. Margaret Preston contacted Morrison Marketing 3 months before you were let go. She asked them to terminate you, said it would be worth their while financially. Diana's blood went cold. That's impossible. It's all here. She wanted you desperate, vulnerable. She knew about Sebastian, about your history. Victoria told her everything. Jessica's voice cracked. I found these emails last week when I was cleaning out files. Morrison got a $50,000 consulting contract from Sterling Real Estate. Payment for getting rid of you. Diana stared at the screen, reading the messages. Margaret's cold instructions. Morrison's eager agreement. The payment receipt. Everything. Everything had been orchestrated. They didn't just give you a job. Diana, they destroyed your old life to make you desperate enough to do something you'd regret. Something that would drive a wedge between you and Sebastian forever. Diana stood, the room spinning. Why would they go through all this trouble? Because Victoria loves him. Jessica's eyes filled with tears, and she knew the only way to keep him was to make sure you broke his heart first. To make him think you never really loved him. That you used him. Diana's mind raced. The termination. The perfectly timed job offer. Victoria's confession in the park. All of it designed to corner her, to force her to make an impossible choice, and she'd fallen for it. I'm so sorry, Jessica whispered. I should have said something sooner. Diana grabbed her coat. Where's the wedding? Diana, don't. It's too late. He's marrying her in 2 hours. Where? The Sterling estate in the Hamptons. But Diana, you can't just crash a wedding. Security will never let you near the place. Diana was already moving. Watch me. She drove like fury itself was chasing her, traffic laws becoming suggestions. Her phone rang constantly. Margaret, the office, her mother. She ignored them all. The Sterling estate rose like a fortress, all white stone and manicured gardens. Security guards stood at the gate, earpieces and suspicious eyes. Diana pulled up, rolled down her window. I'm here for the wedding name. Diana Chen. The guard checked his tablet, frowned. You're not on the list, ma'am. I know, but I need to get in there, please. It's important. I'm sorry. No list, no entry. Diana's desperation turned to steel. Then tell Victoria Sterling that the girl from Queens is here. Tell her I know about the emails. About Morrison Marketing. About everything. And if she doesn't let me in right now, I'll stand out here and tell every guest arriving exactly what kind of woman their bride really is. The guard's expression flickered. He spoke into his radio, listened, then stepped back. Someone will escort you in. Diana parked and walked toward the mansion on shaking legs. The gardens were filled with white flowers, fairy lights strung between trees, hundreds of guests in designer clothes. The ceremony was about to begin. Victoria met her at the garden entrance, resplendent in a wedding dress that probably cost more than Diana made in a year. I wondered if you'd come, Victoria said calmly. You destroyed my life. You manipulated both of us. I saved him. Victoria's voice was ice. He was going to throw everything away for you. His company, his employees, his future. So yes, I manipulated the situation. I gave you a career and gave him a reason to stay. Win-win. That's not your choice to make. Someone had to make it. Because neither of you could see past your feelings to what actually mattered. Victoria stepped closer. And now you're here to what? Declare your love? Stop the wedding. He doesn't want you anymore, Diana. You made sure of that when you told him you used him. When you broke his heart, because you backed me into a corner. I gave you an out. I gave you everything you said you wanted. A career, sophistication, success. Victoria's mask finally cracked, pain flooding through. Don't you dare make me the villain when you took what I offered and ran, because I thought I was saving him. You were. And now I'm saving him again. From making a mistake, from choosing love over responsibility. Victoria's voice broke. Do you know what it's like to love someone who will never love you back? To know that every time he looks at you, he's seeing someone else? Diana saw it then. The agony beneath Victoria's perfect exterior. The loneliness of winning by default. Then let him choose, Diana said quietly. If he picks you, I'll walk away forever. But let him choose knowing the truth. Victoria stared at her for a long moment. Then she laughed, the sound hollow. You're too late. He's already chosen. He's standing at the altar right now, waiting for me. Because he's a good man who keeps his promises, who protects the people depending on him. Then I'll stand up during the ceremony, object when they ask, and destroy him in front of everyone. His business partners? His investors? His employees? That's your grand gesture? Victoria shook her head. You're not the hero of this story, Diana. Neither am I. We're just two women who love a man who can't have what he really wants. Music swelled from the garden. The ceremony was starting. Victoria turned away, then paused. If you really love him, you'll let this happen. You'll let him have the life he needs, even if it's not the one he wants. That's what I'm doing. What are you brave enough to do? She walked toward the aisle, toward the altar where Sebastian waited. Diana stood frozen, Victoria's words cutting deeper than any blade. If she stopped this wedding, Sebastian lost everything. His company, his reputation, the 200 people depending on him. But if she didn't, she lost him forever. And this time, there would be no second chance. The officiant's voice carried across the garden. If anyone objects to this union, speak now or forever. Hold your peace. Diana took a step forward, then another. Every eye in the garden turned to her. Sebastian's gaze found hers across the crowd, and Diana saw it all in his face. The love, the pain, the resignation. The choice was hers, and she had exactly 3 seconds to make it. Diana opened her mouth. Sebastian's expression shifted from shock to something raw and desperate. Hope. After months of silence and lies, hope still lived in his eyes when he looked at her. Victoria stood frozen in her wedding dress, beautiful and terrified. 200 guests held their breath. Diana saw it all in that suspended moment. The future splitting into 2 paths. One where she spoke, one where she didn't. If she stayed silent, Sebastian married Victoria, saved his company, protected his employees, lived a life of responsibility and hollow success. And Diana would build her career, haunted forever by what could have been if she spoke. She destroyed everything he'd worked for, made him choose between love and duty, and whatever he chose would break him. Some choices weren't about right or wrong. They were about what you could live with. Diana looked at Sebastian, really looked at him, saw the exhaustion carved into his face, the weight of expectation crushing him, and she understood what Victoria had tried to tell her. Love is always about holding on. Sometimes it was about letting go. Diana smiled, soft, sad, a goodbye written in the curve of her lips. Then she turned and walked away. No objections, the officiant said, relief flooding his voice. Then by the power vested in me, wait. Sebastian's voice cut through the garden like a knife. Diana stopped, her back still turned. I object, Sebastian said. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Diana spun around. Sebastian stepped away from the altar, his eyes never leaving Diana's. I object to this wedding, to this lie, to pretending I can be happy with anything less than the truth. Victoria's face crumbled. Sebastian, please, think about what you're doing. I've thought about nothing else for 3 months. He walked down the aisle toward Diana. I thought I could do the right thing, the responsible thing. But loving you is the only right thing I've ever done, Diana, and I'm done lying about it. Diana shook her head, tears streaming. Your company, your employees, will survive. Or they won't. But I can't survive another day without you. Sebastian reached her, taking her hands. Victoria told me what she did. About Morrison marketing. About the manipulation. About everything. Diana looked past him to Victoria, who stood alone at the altar, mascara tracking down her perfect face. When? Diana whispered. This morning. She came to me before the ceremony and confessed everything. Sebastian's voice was thick with emotion. She said she couldn't marry me knowing she'd destroyed our chance. That even though she loves me, she couldn't live with who she'd have to become to keep me. Diana pulled free, walking to Victoria. The guests watched in stunned silence. "You told him the truth," Diana said softly. Victoria nodded, unable to speak. "Why?" "Because I realized something." Victoria's voice cracked. "You were willing to let him go, to sacrifice your happiness for his future, and if you loved him that much, then maybe he deserved to know what that love cost you. What we both cost you." Diana took Victoria's hands. "I'm sorry. For all of it, don't be." Victoria squeezed back, then let go. "He was never mine to lose. I was just borrowing him, pretending." She looked at Sebastian. "I release you from our arrangement. My father will too. He never wanted me to marry someone who didn't love me anyway." "What about the company?" Sebastian asked. "Figure it out. You're brilliant. You'll find another way." Victoria smiled through tears. "And if you don't, at least you'll fail with someone worth failing for." She walked down the aisle, head high, wedding dress trailing behind her like a flag of surrender. Guests parted for her, and Diana had never seen anyone look more alone or more dignified. Sebastian turned to Diana. "So, this is the part where you tell me I'm an idiot for? Throwing away my future? You are an idiot." Diana laughed through tears. "But so am I. I should have fought for you from the beginning. Should have trusted that we could figure it out together. You still can." Sebastian pulled her close, and Diana felt something in her chest finally unlock. "My company might fail. I might lose everything. We might end up back in Queens sharing lunch money. I kept my job. We could live on my salary. It's not much, but it's enough." Sebastian kissed her forehead. "More than enough. Because I'll have you." The officiant cleared his throat awkwardly. "Should I, pack up?" "Actually," Sebastian said, looking at Diana with a question in his eyes. "Do you have anywhere to be right now?" Diana's breath caught. "Sebastian Torres, are you asking what I think you're asking?" "I've wasted 3 months. I'm not wasting another second." He dropped to one knee right there in the garden, in front of 200 stunned guests. "Diana Chen, you're my first love. My best friend. The only person who's ever seen me for who I really am instead of what I could give them. Will you marry me? Right now. Today. In front of all these people who got dressed up anyway." Diana should have said no. Should have insisted on time, on rebuilding, on healing. Instead, she said, "Yes." The garden erupted. Some guests cheered. Others looked scandalized. A few were already making calls, probably to gossip columns. Diana didn't care. The officiant looked between them, bewildered but game. "Well, this is a first. But I suppose if the groom wants to marry someone else, that's technically allowed." Sebastian stood, pulling Diana to the altar. "Anyone want to object to this one?" Silence. Then, from the back of the garden, a single person started clapping Victoria. Standing alone, applauding with tears on her face. Others joined in. Slowly at first, then building to something genuine. "Then by the power vested in me," the officiant said, barely suppressing a smile, "I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride." Sebastian cupped Diana's face, and she saw everything in his eyes. The love, the fear, the absolute certainty that this was right, no matter what came next. "I love you," he whispered. "I love you too, even though you're an idiot, especially because I'm an idiot." He kissed her, and Diana tasted salt from tears. His or hers, she couldn't tell. "Didn't matter when they broke apart," Sebastian laughed. "So, want to know something terrible?" "What?" "I have no idea how to save my company. I might have just married you right into bankruptcy." Diana grinned. "Then we'll figure it out. Together. That's what partners do." "Partners," Sebastian repeated, testing the word. "I like that." They walked down the aisle, hand in hand, past guests still processing what they'd witnessed. Past Victoria, who nodded at them with something like blessing. Past the ruins of one future, and toward the uncertainty of another. At the garden gate, Diana paused. "Sebastian?" "Yeah. I'm terrified." "Me too. but I wouldn't change anything. Not if it means I get to be with you. Sebastian pulled her close. Same even if we end up eating ramen in a studio apartment. I make really good ramen. That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. They left the Sterling estate together. Diana still in her business clothes. Sebastian, in his wedding tuxedo, meant for someone else. Behind them, the party awkwardly continued. Ahead of them, everything was uncertain, but Diana had learned something in the past 3 months. Life wasn't about having all the answers. It wasn't about perfect plans or guaranteed outcomes. It was about choosing who you wanted beside you when everything fell apart. And she'd chosen right. 6 months later, Diana stood in a small office in Brooklyn, surrounded by moving boxes. Sebastian's company had downsized significantly. They'd lost the penthouse, lost the flashy clients, lost everything that looked impressive from the outside. But they'd kept the core team. 20 people instead of 200, lean, hungry, building something real, and Sebastian was happy. Truly happy, in a way Diana had never seen before. Mrs. Torres. One of the employees poked her head in. Your mom's online too. Diana picked up. Hey mama, how's my brilliant daughter? Working too hard as usual? Always. Diana smiled. But happy. Really happy? It's all I ever wanted for you, sweetheart. Love and happiness. Everything else is just noise. After hanging up, Diana found Sebastian on the roof, looking out at the Brooklyn skyline. Not as impressive as the views from his old life, but real. Solid. Hey, she said, slipping her arms around him. Ready to go home? Their apartment was tiny. 1 bedroom in Queens, back where they'd both started. But it was theirs. Always. Sebastian turned, kissing her softly. No regrets? Diana thought about the penthouse, the fancy office, the life she could have had if she'd played it safe. It's not a single one. Even though I made you give up everything. You didn't make me give up anything. You gave me everything that matters. Diana pressed her forehead to his. I'd choose this life, this love, this partnership, every single time. Good. Sebastian smiled. Because I'm never letting you go. They stood there as the sun set over Brooklyn. 2 people who'd lost everything and found that what remained was more than enough. Love wasn't about grand gestures or perfect moments. It was about choosing each other. Every day, no matter what came next. And they would keep choosing each other for the rest of their beautifully imperfect lives. The end.